USA get the win over Uruguay, 19 points to 16 in game one of their two-game series to decide who is going to qualify for the Americas' one spot at the 2023 Rugby World Cup. So this game is over, but the contest is still very much alive, with the US taking in a slender 3-point lead into that second leg. Remember, it's the winner on aggregate who is going to kind of go through to that spot to join like France and New Zealand and Italy in that Pool A of the Rugby World Cup. So, yeah, interesting game. I've just watched it. I think it was on Flow Rugby in the States, Star Plus in Uruguay, and then YouTube had it actually for other territories, which was kind of nice to see. So, yeah, kind of good promotion of the game. They didn't have Chile and Canada, which I haven't seen the result of yet, but that's unfortunate. So, yeah, but in terms of this game, I'll go through some of the key events. Don't have any stats. They may come out a bit later, but kind of none at hand, having just watched the game. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on how it went. It started decent enough for Uruguay. They got the first points on the board, but Chelsea kicked the penalty on about 8 minutes to make it 3-0. But then all of the point scoring in the first half and the start of the second come through the US. And at one point they're looking like, heading into the away fixture with a kind of pretty comfortable buffer, but it isn't to be. They get the first try through Dolan. That one is Kruse, who has a good return from... He throws a line out quickly to himself, runs it up the guts, bangs into Burchesi, bumps him off, gets it to Hermajes. He goes down the blind side, dummy pass, gets it to De Haas. De Haas throws a tough ball to Pifoletti, and then he gets it to Dolan, who finishes off the move. So it was a really good move from the US, 7 points to 3. That was a bit of magic. From then on, the game lacked a bit of flow. Kind of few scrums and kind of stop-start nature of the game. It was a bit tentative, a fair bit of kicking, but I mean, it's a Rugby World Cup qualifier, so you don't really want to make mistakes. So you did see that from both teams. De Haas kind of proved that he's one of the best guys at adapting to the new laws with some of the kicking. Remember, against Canada, when Canada goal line dropped it to him, he just booted it straight back with a drop goal and got 3 points for the States. In this game, he kicked a really sweet 50-22. He's got a really big boot on him, does De Haas. So, yeah, be careful kicking that guy the ball in his own half because he'll punish you. That gave the US a really good chance to attack. Like after I mentioned, it was lacking a bit of flow, but Kruse got penalised for kind of one too many movements after he was tackled. But good Uruguay defence, so credit to them for often getting over the ball and disrupting. The US had a big period of pressure camped in the Uruguayan half. I would think the territory stats were pretty lopsided in that first half especially. And eventually it paid off for Dyer. He got one on 40 minutes, beat about 2 defenders. He had a bit of work to do, but managed to kind of power over the line for a try. So 14 points to 3 at halftime. Looking pretty decent for the US. They didn't convert early when Braki had a charge down. When Uruguay were trying to exit, but they did convert a few minutes later, maybe 9 minutes later, 10 minutes because it's 50 minutes when they get it. The third try of the game, Kruse gets it after their maul gets stopped, wide ball. Braki just does a simple draw and pass and gets it to Kruse for the try. They missed the conversion though, so it's 19 points to 3 after 51 minutes? And it's looking like, man, if the US score another try, they could be going in with kind of a 15 point, maybe even 20-point lead if they keep this up, but they don't. And Uruguay, to their credit, really come back into the game. Interestingly, they initially go for the tries, Uruguay. I would have thought in a two-legged game, you just keep the scoreboard ticking over. 54 minutes, they opted for touch from a very kickable penalty. They did this line-out move where they always get it back to their hooker. They did that like 2 or 3 times in this game. Line out, straight back to the hooker. He runs it up the sideline. But he was put into touch. The US guys were pretty well aware of it. So that was kind of shut down. And I was shaking my head like, man, guys, it's not even an 80-minute game. It's a 160-minute game. Just take your threes. You still got ages to go. It's not even half time in the greater scheme of things. But, yeah, Hanko Hermajes had a big old boot on him at one point. But it was a good kick. But he fouled it up by putting a late tackle in on the return kick from Uruguay. There were some handbags after that one. So because he got penalised, Uruguay get to kick into US territory. The Uruguayan guys went really close to the US line, but knocked it on. I was thinking, man, that's a good get out of jail. And then the US kind of doubled down on the Uruguayan failure to convert by winning a scrum penalty and a good exit for them. So it seemed to be that the Uruguayan guys were kind of destined not to convert any of their chances in this game. But on 62, they did change tactics. They opted for the 3, which I was thinking that's wise. Again, not even half time in the scheme of things, so 19 points to 6. Kind of keep the scoreboard pressure on, just, I don't know, shift the momentum. It's nothing more kind of gut-wrenching than when you do all that good work and just knock it on the goal line. So at least keep the scoreboard ticking over, give you guys some motivation. Dolan got a good line-out steal, shut down another Uruguayan attack before 70 minutes. Lots of penalties I noted in the second half. I don't know what the penalty count was, but it was pretty high. But then Borchese on 69 has another penalty, 19 points to 9. And with a home trip to come for Uruguay, 10 points, you're thinking, man, 10 points is definitely doable because their matches are usually pretty close. USA had a shot at goal. This is when Cardi's come on. He's replaced McGee. But he hits the post, which is a bit of a let-off because it's only a few minutes later. The Uruguayans go close through Favaro. It's a grubber. But he ends up knocking it on forward. I think it's Christian Dyer who has a good save on that one. But 2 minutes later, because they go back for advantage, they do get the try eventually through Pujadas, the replacement hooker. He goes over. The forwards got that ball. They mauled it. It went close, didn't get there. And then they would just kind of pick and go, pick and go, pick and go, pick and go. I don't know how many phases it was, but it was a lot. They were kind of edging their way towards the left wing. And that's where he went over for the try. So a great bit of pressure converted and a great conversion. So 19 points to 16. That is the way they finished it. I mean, Cardi kicked it out on the full on 79. Hermajes won a breakdown penalty on 81 minutes. The US guys opted to kick into Uruguayan territory to maybe get one more try because we didn't really see a lot of the US maul. Like, it proved really effective against Canada. It was right ready for them to set a maul in the Uruguayan 22. But they lost the line out. So they miss a chance to really extend the lead. They just take the slender 3.1 into Uruguay for next week. So, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one to see how things go. I do think Hermajes is a really good player. He's probably my favorite US player at the moment. He wins turnovers. I mean, he did give away that one kind of silly penalty, but man, he's a proper unit. He gets good go-forward ball, good at the breakdown, strong in the carry. Like, I just like everything about that guy's game. De Haas as well is pretty good. Lopetti in the midfield carries pretty well. For Uruguay, it was a bit of a re-education for me. Borchese is kind of as good as I remembered him. Is it Freitas, the reserve hooker? He had a pretty solid one. The captain, the midfielder, 12, his name escapes me, carried pretty well. So the fullback seems to be a bit of an elusive runner. But yeah, good to see them back. Close game, one lead change. But it's only half time in the scheme of things. So a 3-point deficit is definitely one that Uruguay would be able to look at overturning next week. The US guys are going to have to be on for 80 minutes. They could have converted more chances. They did miss that penalty through Cardi towards the death. But then likewise, their defense had to get them out of jail when Uruguay had some chances earlier on as well. So maybe it's about right, I guess. Uruguay dominated the end, but the US had the majority of the start. So anyway, interesting game. You guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How did you think it went? Do you think Uruguay can overturn this one next week, or do you think the US will be able to put in more of an 80-minute performance? Either way, should be a bit of a fun one to watch. You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you soon.